Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So I have a much anticipated video coming for you today. We are finally going to be talking about my thoughts on the new Revolution makeup, the Emily Edit The Wants eyeshadow palette. Now if you've never seen this guy before, odds are you probably haven't been spending a ton of time around the beauty YouTube community because this palette has received so much love since its launch, which I think was a few weeks ago now. It sold out in a few days on the Ulta website, if it even took that long. It also has sold out in a bunch of Ulta stores. I do think they have been restocking since it has been a couple of weeks, but so many people ran out to show their support for Emily Noel, who is the YouTuber that basically curated this palette. She basically lost, I'm sure, a lot of nights of sleep testing and swatching and trying to make sure that every shade and every formula was perfect, and this essentially is her baby. It is a very affordable palette because Makeup Revolution is a drugstore brand, and I am really excited to have it in my hands, to have been playing with it for a while, and to finally be able to share my thoughts with you guys. But before we get into things, I do want to say hello and welcome to any of you if you're new here to my channel or if you've recently subscribed. My name is Lauren. Thank you so much for hanging out and chatting about beauty with me today. I try to upload new videos on Tuesdays and Thursdays and sometimes also on Saturdays, but make sure that you click the subscribe button and also ring the notification bell if you want to know exactly when my uploads go live, because I don't really have like a set schedule per se. I do also love me some Instagram, and I always have all of my social media profiles linked for you guys in my description box of my video, along with, you know, clothes if I can link it, what makeup I'm wearing, all that kind of good stuff. So if you want to go like be my friend / stalk me over on my other social media platforms, go check out those links. And now that we are properly introduced, let's get into talking about this beautiful thing right here. So the first thing to note about this palette is its size. This is a massive eyeshadow palette. Later we're going to get into a little demo tutorial. I'm going to show you how I created this eye look, and with the camera zoomed in, this basically takes like the entire frame whenever I have to hold it up to show you color. On the con side of it being so large, it's a little less travel friendly. Obviously you can't just like throw this guy in your purse for touch-ups or things like that. But on the positive side, it does have really nice sturdy packaging. This has got a like really pretty light peach colored plastic that's very sturdy. It doesn't feel cheap at all. I will say, for such an affordable brand, Makeup Revolution does generally do a pretty nice job with their packaging. It usually feels a lot more high-end than some other drugstore brands products do. And then this is what the palette looks like on the inside. You get 24 shades, all basically like full-sized pans, which is really amazing for an eyeshadow palette. And then you get this giant wonkin mirror up here, which is amazing. If you are gonna travel with this, if you're gonna lug it with you somewhere, you at least are gonna have a really big, beautiful mirror with you. It's a very nice quality. It's not like a cheap, warped funhouse-like looking mirror. You actually can see yourself really nicely, and it also does like prop up by itself really well. So if you want to put this palette on like a desk or a vanity in your hotel room, whatnot, it will serve you very well. The other really amazing thing about this eyeshadow palette is the price point. This guy retails for $20, which is very, very reasonable for both the amount of product that you're getting and for the quality of the packaging and the shadows. So I'm just gonna hold this guy upside down so that way I'm not gonna blind you with the mirror while we're talking about the palette. But as you can see, the color selection in this palette is really nice, and if you know Emily Noel, it is so true to her. These are colors she loves, that she wears a lot in her videos, that she uses in her demonstrations, and I feel like it is exactly what I would expect from a palette curated by her. You've got all of your like, you know, essential matte shades. You've got a couple mid-tone browns. You've got a nice cream color. You've got this soft blackish kind of charcoal over here. So your nice kind of essential shades you might want to look for, especially in a palette of this size. But then you also have a ton of fun pops of color. You have a lot of metallic different things to play with. Some things that have more of like a satin sheen. It's just got a really nice variety of finishes, of colors. The colors themselves are vibrant but not neon, so like they show up, they're not super muted, but they are wearable enough that if you're someone that doesn't like to go really, really dramatic with their makeup, you can still actually like use these shades and love them. Now, if I'm being honest, I think I favor the matte formula in this palette over the metallic and kind of satiny shades. I think the mattes are so beautiful. They are very, very blendable. They have a nice buildable level of pigmentation, which Emily did say in her kind of like reveal video when she first introduced and talked about this palette. She said she purposefully wanted to make a palette that was friendly to people that weren't makeup experts. So even the deeper shades, they're not going to go on so crazy intense that you're going to have to spend an hour blending them out. They're gonna go on a little bit more softly. Like, they still show up. It's not like you're gonna have to sit and pack on color also again for, you know, 15 minutes. But when you apply them, you can blend them very easily and build them up to the level of intensity that you want without having to work really hard. My thing with the metallic and the more satin shimmery shades is that I find them to be a little on the sheer side. You'll see soon when we go through again the demo, like this shade here called Belle Violet. I think it's absolutely stunning, but I did have to kind of really build it up with my finger. It didn't go on with as much of a punch. And honestly, when it comes to metallics, since I'm not typically blending them in the same way that I blend a matte, I kind of want them to be a little bit more creamy, a little bit more punchy, and have a little bit more pizzazz on the eyes. Huh. Pizzazz. It's actually one of the names of these shades. Probably why that word's in my brain. But honestly, if you use like a glitter glue or you wet your brush, you can really make the metallics in this palette pop. They're not bad. They are definitely workable if you know how to use them. So since we all love a good swatch party, why don't we get a little bit better acquainted with these shades? I will swatch the entire palette for you row by row so you can see what the colors actually look like on the skin. So hopefully those swatches were helpful. Obviously, finger swatches are not fully indicative of how a shadow is going to apply on the eyes, which is why I also am going to do a demo for you and show you exactly how a few of these colors perform and how beautifully the matte formula blends out and builds, because I really am impressed with the mattes in this guy. So with that being said, I'm going to scoot you guys a little bit closer so we can create this eye look together. Alright, so I'm going to start out by priming my eyes. I'm going to use my Karity Pre-Shadow Long Lasting Anti-Crease Primer, which is something that I've been testing out recently. And I did mention in my recent makeup playtime video that this primer reminds me a little bit of the NARS Smudge Proof eyeshadow base, which I just repurchased. So I definitely need to do like a side-by-side comparison and see how they fare next to each other. So next what I'm going to do is I want to just set down my crease and brow bone. I'm actually not going to set the primer on my lid because I think that will help the metallic shadow I'm going to put there later to really stick to my eyes. So just to kind of set things down a little bit, I'm gonna go first, I think, into this shade here called the Cream, which is just kind of like a matte bone shade, and I'm gonna use this Moda Pro crease brush to do that. So I think I want to utilize these sort of more cool toned purple shades in the look today. These are ones I have used a little bit less so far, so I wanted to properly test them out. I even wore a purple top today, you know, to keep it going. But since there isn't really like a matte mid-tone purple, I'm gonna go in with Prayer here, I think, in the crease to start kind of creating a transition. That way when I go in with the darker shades, it won't be so harsh. I'm gonna use my Sigma E35 tapered blending brush, which is like my favorite for applying color in the crease. This is such a good brush. So I'm just going to start windshield wiper motioning this. So as you can see, this shade blends really beautifully. It doesn't patch, it's not like non-existent, it's got a nice amount of pigmentation, it's really buildable. I think it makes for a really beautiful transition color. And I appreciate how this particular shade has like a rosiness to it. It's kind of a brown, but kind of also a rosy pink at the same time. It's a really almost unique color. I don't feel like I see this shade a lot in really popular palettes. So then next, I think I want to go into this shade here, Family, which is a dark purple, and it looks like it has like a slight sheen to it, but it's a mostly matte shade. It's going to pretty much appear matte on the eyes, and I'm just gonna use this to deepen up the outer corners, start building in that purple color, and I'm going to apply this with my Luxie 231 small tapered blending brush, which is like my favorite brush for doing this kind of work. Now, just something for you guys to note, these matte type shadows do have some kickback. They are soft. They're not like Anastasia Beverly Hills level soft where you're gonna have tons of powder flying everywhere, but you don't need to be really aggressive with your brushes. You just need to dip them in lightly and you'll pick up plenty of product on your brush. Then I'm gonna go back in with the Sigma brush that had Prayer on it and just make sure that those two colors are blended together nicely. Apparently the sun decided to come out because it all of a sudden got a lot brighter in here, so I just turned my lights down because I think I was starting to get a little bit washed out. So now I want to add a pop of shimmer on the lids. I'm going to take the shade Belle Violet, which is named after one of Emily's daughters. I think that's super, super cute. And she did recommend applying the metallics in this palette either with your finger using a swiping motion or with a wet brush. So we're going to try this today with a finger and see how it goes. So I've got a little product here and I'm gonna swipe it. This particular shade feels just like a little more stiff than some of the other metallics that I've used in this palette. So I think I'm gonna have to kind of like work at it a little bit more. But overall, I feel like the end result, the end payoff, if you take the time, is really pretty. So now I'm gonna go back in, do a little bit more blending. I'm gonna take Family again on my little Luxie brush just to kind of fix this gradient and make sure this is nice and soft. And then back to the Sigma with Prayer. I really like the warmth that this shadow is giving against the cool colors on the lid. I feel like it's almost got like a sunsetty vibe to it. And then finally, back in with that first Moda brush in the cream, right on the brow bone. Now, one thing I will say, looking at my under eye area, I have zero fallout, which is awesome. My eyes are a little black, but that's called residual mascara that I was too lazy to completely take off. It's not eyeshadow. I honestly think all of these shades have built and blended really beautifully on the eyes. They were really easy to work with. If I wasn't sitting here talking to you, I feel like I could put this together pretty quickly, which is great. So I want to add like a pop of highlight to the inner corner of my eyes. I think I'm gonna use the shade here called Eve Rose. I swear to God, this palette's so big, it takes up like the entire frame. I have to like move my head out of here so you can see what I'm talking about. This shade here is the one we're gonna put on the inner corner of the eye. I'm gonna use a Sigma domed utility brush. This is an E34 brush, which is nice and compact, but also pretty dense, so it's good for packing on color. This shade has a cool, like almost pinkiness to it. It's like a pinky taupey purple shade. It's very interesting. Also a little bit more on the subtle side. It's got like a nice sheen to it, but I wouldn't really call it a metallic. For my lower lash line, I do kind of want to pull things together. So I think I'm going to go in first with Prayer, and I'm going to use this little Japanesque brush just to buff a little bit of Prayer along the lower lash lines, and then I'm going to go in with a smaller brush to kind of line with the shade Family. I'm going to take this and just kind of stamp it onto the upper lash line as well, just to add a little bit more definition. And to finish this look up, I am just going to curl my lashes and apply some mascara. All right, you guys, so here is the completed look. Really digging how this came out. I especially love the combination of Prayer, Belle Violet, and Family. I think Prayer really added just that little bit of warmth that was needed to pull everything together, especially as someone with warmer undertones to my skin. Sometimes going very, very cool with my eye makeup can look a little jarring or a little harsh, and I feel like that just really softened everything up. This would be a really pretty look to wear out for like a date night or a special event because it's colorful and smoky, but it's not too over the top. It's not too bold and in your face. It's a very like wearable, colorful look, which I really appreciate. So I am going to zoom you guys back out so we can talk about some final thoughts on this palette. Honestly, I am really impressed by this palette, but I would expect nothing less from Emily Noel. Knowing how much being genuine and authentic means to her, the fact that she like never takes brand sponsorships, she doesn't want to be tied to anyone or anything, she wants to always be able to give her audience an honest opinion on products. I would think that she would be kind of like a nut about anything she put her name on and wanting it to be a really nice quality. I feel like Makeup Revolution was such a perfect brand for her to collaborate with because she does tend to focus both on high-end and drugstore products. She has a really, really wide audience of a lot of different people, young and old, and I think it was probably important to her to release a product that was affordable and accessible for anybody, whether you are a broke college student with a lot of loans that doesn't really have a lot of extra money to spend on makeup, or a busy mom that feels guilty buying anything for herself. This is the kind of thing that's like, it's not going to break the bank to get it. $20 I think is such a reasonable price point considering how much product you get, considering the quality of the packaging, the giant mirror. Honestly, I think they could have probably priced this higher than they did, but I'm glad that they didn't. And let's not forget that Makeup Revolution is a drugstore brand at Ulta, so it probably will go on sale. You'll be able to use coupons, so you could probably get this for less than full price if you're just a little bit patient. Honestly, whether or not this palette is worth buying is gonna come down to whether or not you really like this color story. I personally love the shades that are in here. I primarily enjoy more warm tone shades, which I would say this palette does lean more warm, but it has a lot of really cool pops of color. You've got greens, you've got purples, you've got your neutral shades to kind of anchor things. I think it's very well thought out. You can create a lot of different kinds of looks. There's so much inspiration going on in here. I feel like it's hard to get bored quickly with this palette, which is nice. Again, I think that the matte shadow formula really is the star of this palette, and I would say there's a good balance of mattes and shimmers, so it's not like there's only 3 matte shades and those are really good and the rest of the palette is kind of whatever. There are a lot of mattes in here, so if you want some nice, interesting, unique matte shades to play with, you've got a lot of them in here. And the metallics, again, I think you need to foil them or you need to wear them over a glitter glue to make them really, really stand out if you want that intense pop. If you like a more sheer wash of shimmer, you could honestly probably just apply these with a brush and you'll get that nice light bit of sparkle. It really depends on your preferences and what you like. All in all, I am really happy that I picked this up. I definitely wanted to support Emily Either way, I knew I could trust her. I honestly don't buy a lot of YouTuber collaborations, but the moment that I saw that she was releasing this, I knew I had to get it. Now, she did release one other palette in this collab called the Needs palette, and that is an eye and face palette. I did not choose to pick that up, mostly because I didn't think I would get as much use out of it as I would get out of this. I have a lot of face products. I have a lot of other eyeshadow palettes. Obviously, I didn't really need any makeup, but this to me was unique. I really liked all the fun, colorful shades. I didn't have a palette that was exactly like this in my collection, especially at an affordable price point. So I thought this would be something I would really enjoy, I would have fun with, and I honestly have. I've created some really cool looks with this. I feel like the wear time on these shadows is decent, like it doesn't fade off your eyes after an hour. I typically do wear this over a primer, or at least put like concealer on my lids to kind of help the shadows stick. So I can't speak to how this would apply on a naked eye, but if you're someone that doesn't mind investing in that little extra step, I think these stick really beautifully. They don't disappear. They're easy to work with, and it's just overall a really amazing palette for only $20. So that is it for today's video. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me today. I hope you enjoyed learning more about this guy, creating this look together with me. If you have already picked this up or are thinking about getting it, let me know in the comments down below. I love to hear your feedback. And if you enjoy reviews and these kinds of videos, make sure you give this one a thumbs up. Always super, super helpful for me to get your feedback and your support. And also let me know if you'd like to see me use this palette again. I know I only created one look with it today. Would you like to see me do maybe some other tutorials over on Instagram or something like that? Let me know in the comments down below what you guys would like to see next. So with all that being said, it is about time for me to go. I hope you guys all have an amazing, amazing rest of your day, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.